Let's get to why people are here, right? They're in the front row and they want the ding ding. So let's get to it here. The Nationals, yet another conference held over the weekend about its policy future, votes against net zero. The cheering you could hear was not because Matt's footy team was getting up on the weekend. It was because what he thinks is the good idea for the country was getting up in his party.
Yeah, Paul, I probably didn't cheer as loud as since the Broncos won the premiership back in 2005. It's been a long time between drinks, and I've been at this fight for a long time too. So, look, I'm just happy we had a debate. We haven't even been able to have a debate in the joint party room on net zero on many of our state conferences. So good on the New South Wales Nationals Party for having that debate. My understanding was it was a tough fought, robust debate. That's how it should be. And don't the Australian people deserve a choice on this? This is a radical plan to completely change how we do everything. Not just electricity. Sometimes we get hoodwinked into thinking net zero is just about putting some solar panels and batteries up. No, it's not. It's about changing everything we do, from the food we grow to how we transport that food around the countryside. And we're seeing every country trying to do this is just ending up poorer, as are we. And so don't we deserve a debate? And I think the Australian people deserve a choice. So I hope other state parties do the same. Northern Territory just did the same as the New South Wales Nationals. The Country Liberal Party there has dropped their support for net zero. So I think this is some dominoes now falling. And hopefully at the next election we can have a contest on this craziness.
So, Nick, again, back to where the Lowy Institute was, and again, I know parts of it lean a little left, but still, right? 38% better off because of the net zero commitment. 36% say we're worse off as a result. Basically, the middle is turning around going, oh, okay, that basically it's the same. What does it say to you? Again, I'm happy for the debate, right? We'll find out where the country is. But even interesting in that kind of left-leaning polling, that basically we're talking 40-40-20.
Well, look, I think this is an absolutely terrible decision.
Correct. That's before we have the debate.
Well,
go, Nick.
Well, I mean, look, this is clearly and absolutely. No, that's okay. I mean, this is clearly, provably a terrible decision by the Nats, and it shows that they are not ready to govern in New South Wales. And the New South Wales Liberal Party needs to be absolutely clear and categorical that they would not govern in coalition with a National Party that doesn't share a commitment to net zero by 2050. And I think politically, and put aside the terrible public policy here, politically it's terrible for the Nats and the coalition as well. Like they've opened the cupboard, pulled out the crazy pills, and they've just sort of swallowed the whole jar. I mean, the next election is winnable. I know you got absolutely. What's good about? I know how badly thumped. The coalition parties were at the last federal election, but all is not lost. All is not lost. If you remain a sensible, centrist, centre-right government and not lurch to the Trump extremes of politics, the next election is winnable.
Well,
Tony
Blair,
but when you're adopting policies like this, you're simply showing the Australian people that you're not ready to govern, that you're just not ready to govern.
Okay, can I jump in before you both respond
Paul,
here, right?
Paul, maybe I was being far too optimistic that we'd get an actual debate. Instead, we just got a rant from Nick, and again saying that somehow it's anathema for anyone. You can't have a view against net zero. You are out. You're ostracised from polite society, according to the Labor Party, for doing that because they cannot argue for the actual issue. They cannot put a sensible argument for why we should shut down our coal industries, our coal-fired power stations, which are powering coal and gas powering 95% of Queensland right now. We should shut those things down, but still export the coal and gas to the rest of the world. They can't answer that question about how that makes any sense. So instead of arguing the issue, they immediately go to the invective. You're Trump. You're crazy. You're crazy pills. All this stuff. As I tried to say just before, Tony Blair, about a month ago, Tony Blair, the former UK Prime Minister, the Labor Prime Minister, called net zero irrational. So this is not Donald Trump. This is large parts of the world are waking up to the fact that this target is unachievable, and trying to achieve it, though, is costing an arm and a leg. And I don't think the Australian people deserve to have that burden placed on them.
So, Nick, I just want to ask you, right, not necessarily to respond in all of what Matt just said, right, although if you want to, feel free. But what I think stumps a lot of people, right, which is there's the fundamentals here, right? Australia, 1% of the global emissions problem, 1%, right? So the plan is for us to do, at the moment, 43% of 1% of the world's problem, okay? The push on for whatever the 2035 target might end up getting us towards 55, 65, 75, whatever. Let's even imagine 100. It's 100% of 1% of the world's problems, and China is able to wipe that out in 16 days. So, Nick, at what point, as a person who, yes, wants the action, says we need to be part of the global, all the rest of it, right? But at what point does the left actually recognise that even if we did everything, we're not going to change the weather in Australia?
So this is not the left, Paul. This is science and engineering and every country doing its bit. And Australia can not only do its bit, it can excel. We are a renewable superpower in this country, Paul. We have huge amounts of wind and solar, and we have great technological and innovative industries who are ready to go to build Australia as a green power superpower. So we should be embracing that future, not running away from it, seeing that this is an opportunity to create national advantage for our nation. And you know, to be trying to deny that, to try and turn, you know, Australia backwards, I just can't understand it. Ultimately, Matt, I think you're letting down regional communities with the arguments you're making.
Well, Nick, you haven't got the memo. That language you just used about year out of date. The Labor Party used to say we're going to be a green superpower, going to be a green export superpower. They don't say that anymore because hydrogen has been a complete dud. I can take you down the road, just 100 odd k's down the road from where I am now, and we gave Twiggy Forrest $44 million. We've ended up with a shed for it. We've got a shed because he's walked away from the hydrogen industry, and we're not going to get those jobs that we were promised by the Labor Party a few years ago in hydrogen. Luckily, the coal mines are still going strong. But there is no hydrogen market out there. There's nothing that's going to be out there anytime soon. We just saw last week that the latest analysis shows that hydrogen is still costing 8 times the cost of natural gas in the US. This is not working, and the reality is starting to come in now. And the sooner we therefore recognise that reality, the lot less costly it will be for Australians, and drop this tide talking points and rhetoric that is not based on much more than hot air.
Again,
really quick,
Matt, you're like a guy sitting around in 1980 typing away on your typewriter saying these PCs will never take off. In fact, I tried a PC last week and it crashed, and what a failure that is. Well, the PC, the computer age will never come.
Next, you're going to say he's afraid of catching the train because his bones will fall. We're setting up a new typewriter factory. We're going to give government money to build a new typewriter factory here in our town. Like that's how what you're saying now. Actually not saying.
We've been backing hydrogen for decades. It hasn't worked. It's talking about the 1980s. In the 1980s, Joe Bjelke-Petersen stood in front of an XD Ford Fairlane and said the hydrogen car is here, right in front of your eyes. It didn't work. And the old saying goes that hydrogen's just 20 years away. It's just always been 20 years away. And that's being proven again. As I say, you don't see the Federal Labor Party talk about hydrogen anymore. They didn't mention it in the campaign. Nick, you just haven't caught up with that. That's fine because you don't live and breathe it like I do up here, because we've had tens of millions, hundreds of millions actually wasted up here in central and north Queensland on this pipe dream that we would somehow have hydrogen jobs. No one's employed in the hydrogen industry anymore. There's no one there. Right. There's a lot of people employed in the coal industry, and there's record demand for that coal. So why don't we invest in that and become wealthy as a country again?